Recording in progress.
Hello, everyone. Today we continue discussing chapter number 5, Seek First to Understand, Then to Be Understood. And this is our 20th meeting. Because we are discussing in this chapter already the third meeting, I decided to do for you outline in order to see what we already discussed and what we need to discuss. So this chapter divided in two parts. The first part is seek to understand. And the second part, then seek to be understood. We covered with you already character and communication. And I will have a couple of questions in order to refresh that not only I would talk. So here's the question, what is character? If you don't know of your new, don't know the material, it's not necessary. Just tell me from your point of view. If you want to answer, you can raise your hand, or today we have pretty small group, you can just talk. What, in your opinion, is a character? We know, we grew up with this word, we know what it, right? What is that?
So character is it's how you behave set on determined by the set of principles and values that have shaped your personality.
Beautiful. 10 points. So, and you know what I noticed? That when we were talking about paradigm, it's exactly the same. Paradigm is a system of your values, system of perception. So character and paradigm, to me, it's absolutely the same. And we were talking about that character is the foundation of communication. Do you remember we were talking about these 5 steps to win-win situation? And we see that the character is include integrity, maturity, and abundance mentality. So later we will discuss it a little bit more. And I have a tricky question to you. So if a character is the foundation of communication, right? Should be our communication different when we are talking to different people? Let's say we can talking to the members of our family, right? We can talk to boss, we can talk to coworker, we can talk to friend. What do you think should we be different, or what should be the same, or something should be different, or part different, part the same? But what can you tell?
I think that character doesn't so much change, but you adjust to your audience is the difference. You know, how I speak to my mom and how I speak to my colleagues, 2 different conversations.
Okay.
Being friendly, it's just knowing the audience, in my opinion.
Right, how different? So you're totally different. You are changing everything, or you are changing the tone of your voice. You are changing yourself completely. You are one person, and the other person, when you talk with the other person, you're completely different person. So what you are changing?
So your character should never change, really. If there's a solid foundation and you know what you believe and you know what your core principles are, your character is always going to be the same. You might mention some things to some people that you mention to other people if you want to avoid confrontation, or if the delivery is different, or if there's a mimicking of if they speak softer, if they speak louder, if they're, you know, more of high tempo or then the tonality might change, but your character should always be the same if you understand who you are and where you come from.
Absolutely. I don't have anything to add. And I am absolutely sure that we know that. But with this clarification are always helpful. Absolutely. We need to keep who we are. This is the real key, actually, to be who you are. We just can change the tone of voice. We can change how we are talking. We can change words. But this is how we were talking. This is center. We need to keep center in ourselves. We cannot keep our center in our children. We cannot keep our center in our spouse or at work or in pleasure. Otherwise, we won't be stable. We will be bad. And we need to understand, now this is already from the our last material. Let me quickly explain. While we need to be centered in who we are and keep our paradigms and character in order to have a win-win situation, in order to have empathic listening, first, we need to understand the unique situation of the person. See how we can do, we can say, okay, I'm strong, I'm centering me, let me show the world how strong I am. But if you will show that, you will be alone with your centeredness. So in order to have, we are already in habit number 5, this is a public victory. So in order to be successful with people, we need to understand the situation of the other person and the unique situation. That situation can be different than we are, right? Then even different from our perspective, our understanding, even our appreciation, but it's a different person and it's a different world. And so we talk about character communication. We started to talk about empathic listening. We actually talk even diagnose before prescribe. We talk about autobiographical responses. So we need to finish understanding and perceptions, and then we will go to part 2. And you see part 2, it's then to be understand. This is first part, right? And this is the second part. And let's go into our journey. So the question, we will talk about empathic listening. And empathic listening involves a very deep shift in paradigm. What do you think, what kind of shift in paradigm, Mr. Covey? Let me edit it to them in another way. What kind of shift Mr. Covey meant? What did he mean? He was saying that empathic listening, and empathic listening, it's how I just said recently, we need to understand another person. And Mr. Covey said it's very deep shift in paradigm, empathic listening. And I will answer. Maybe it's a little bit tricky question. I'm sure you know what I will say. That typically we seek first to be understood. It's our habit. We are seeking that somebody else understand us. But empathic listening is completely different. And how can we do that? We need to have our listening maturity. This is the first and essential step. And first, it's have a desire to listen. We were covering that very deeply, so I don't want to spend more time. I just go through the steps and you will see the depthness of it. So first, we need to have a desire to listen. And then, in fact, we even try to hear. Because, you know, first we can have a desire, but we don't do a thing about it. And after number 3, we try to understand something. Then we need to remember something. And in order to completely understand a person, because we can misunderstand a person, right? we need to continue or rephrase what the person said. And only number 6, we can say our opinion. And this is 7 steps, which called listening maturity. This we were talking about. Remember that only 10% of words, it's this value of words of 10% of communication, 30% sound, and 60% body language. And my question, what is about, this is pure communication. Can we bring this to life? For example, it's not only communication. We are living with people, we have friendship with people. How's about what person does and what person saying? So what do you think percentage value of that? What person does, or what his deeds and what he's saying?
I think 60% is what person does. What is the other 2?
No, this is no information. It's just pure your perception. What do you think? How much percentage we can give to a person who is saying and who is doing? Versa versa. Yes, you actually you got right. And it's your perception. So you think 60% it's what he does or she does, and the 40% what he says or she says,
I
right?
would change it to 20-80.
It's actually closer, and I tend to agree with you. But still, we know about it, and we still continue to fall for words. Why? Because words are very influential. Words are powerful. Eloquency is power. But we need to remember that, right? The 20%, I agree with you, Violeta, and it's actually can be 10%, it can be 30, but not more. So, I mean, it's not more than half, right? Definitely, it's around 20%. So we need to see what person do, what person does. And pay attention to words, but just in 20%. Hello, Patrick. And we are going through habit number 5, and we plan today to finish. So we were talking about diagnose before you prescribe. We were talking that no autobiographical responses, and today we are a little bit look again at what is that autobiographical responses. So we looked through very typical communication between a father and his teenager son, do you remember? And we've seen what the effect what those autobiographical responses bring on child. So even father tried his best, but it was very ineffective. And his son wanted to communicate with him, but he closed up himself because autobiographical responses, and we are deeply embedded in them, but they do not work, not only for our children, but for our friends and spouses as well. So, and let's look more deeply at the empathic listening skills. And we will review it because we talk about it. It involves 4 developmental stages. So, and the first and the very least effective, it's mimic content. So it's without character, without anything. We are just repeating what a person says. And while it can cause problems, some people can be offended at it if we are doing it very without any empathy, without any feelings. However, it's still the first step, and it's actually much better than keep silence or don't listen a person at all. Let's do that. You wouldn't bored with me. Let's for today meeting set up who will read for the man, for the father, and who will read for his teenager son. Can two guys or even girls, it doesn't matter.
I'll read, I'm fine with it.
So who will Patrick, would you like to read?
Sure.
So awesome. Who will be a boy? Who would like to be a boy, and who would like to be a father?
I can start with the one that comes up first. So that would
Okay.
be,
So okay, then you will be a boy. Okay.
sure.
So blue, it's a boy, and black, it will be a father. Let's go.
All right. So boy, Dad, I've had it. School is for the birds.
You've had it. You think school is for the birds.
So you see, it just mimic content. Patrick just repeat what Sebastian said, right? Number two, the second developmental stage, it's already better. Let's see how is it better.
Boy, Dad, I've had it. School's for the birds.
You don't want to go to school anymore.
So it's almost the same, but at least father showed that he's paying attention, right? He rephrased a little bit already different. Let's look for the third stage.
Boy, Dad, I've had it. School's for the birds.
You're feeling really frustrated.
But now we see that it's already much better because already he feels, right? He's paying attention to his feelings. And the fourth stage, it's the second and the third stage are together. You see it's rephrase and reflect. And let's see how will it sound.
Boy, Dad, I've had it. School's for the birds.
You're really frustrated about school.
So where is the content and where is the feeling? See, we combine content and the feeling. And obviously, I think you understand that where is the feeling and where is the content, right? So this is Mr. Povey thinks that this is the best way to approach any conversation. And let's continue. This will be much better version when right now on the last meeting we were talking about the autobiographical responses of father, right? And on this meeting we will see how father will improve and bring more empathic listening. And we can start.
Boy, Dad, I've had it. School's for the birds.
You're really frustrated about school.
One moment. So, and what is in parentheses? It's also, Sebastian, yes, it's like what you're thinking, right?
Okay, perfect.
So you can also act with it.
Okay, sure. So read the parentheses as well then.
Yes, yes, because it's what you're thinking, and we will understand that it's what you're thinking.
Sure. Boy, Dad, I've had it. School's for the birds. I want to talk to you to get your attention.
You're really frustrated about school.
That's right. That's how I feel. I sure am. I totally am impractical. I'm not getting a thing out of it.
You feel like school is not doing you any good.
Let me think. Is that what I mean? Well, yeah, I'm just not learning anything that it's going to help me. I mean, look at Joe. He dropped out of school and he's working on cars. He's making money. Now that's practical.
You feel that Joe really has the right idea.
Well, I guess he does in a way. He's really making money now, but in a few years, I bet he'll probably be ticked off at himself.
You think Joe's going to feel that he made the wrong decision?
He's got to. Just look at what he's given up. I mean, if you don't have an education, you just can't make it in this world.
Education is really important.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you don't have a diploma, if you can't get jobs or go to college, what are you going to do? You know, you've just got to get an education.
It's important to your future.
It is. And you know what? I'm really worried. Listen, you won't tell mom, will you?
You don't want your mother to find out.
Well, not really. Oh, I guess you can tell her. She'll probably find out anyways. Look, I took this test today, this reading test, that they say I'm reading at a 4th grade level, 4th grade, and I'm a junior in high school.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
What a difference real understanding can make. And I'm sorry, guys, who haven't been on our last meeting, we see the big difference. And you can even notice how much in blue, what does it mean blue, how much boy were talking. Before, almost the whole page was in black, so it was what father was talking, because father was giving his autobiographical responses. And he tried his best, but his son closed up. This you can see with empathic listening, who is talking? The son is talking. And father is monitor. It doesn't mean that we need to go to extreme and just give our children to talk, especially when they are like children, and just let them do it. No, we need to monitor. He always, what he is saying, education is really important, and he is listening it, and he's feeling that it's support. So Mr. Covey is saying that all the well-meaning advice in the world worth nothing if they are not addressing the real problem. And again, he's telling them again and again that we are so caught up in our own autobiography, our own paradigm. This is also will be very interesting. Can you continue?
I'm going to flunk, Dad. I guess I figured if I'm going to flunk, I might as well quit, but I don't want to quit.
You feel torn. You're in the middle of a dilemma.
What do you think I should do, Dad?
Can you imagine? Before the son closed up, and now son is asking father what he needs to do. Now the father and son are on the same side of the table and looking in the problem instead of the opposite sides looking across at each other. And the son is opening his father autobiography and asking for advice. I have goosebumps from this beautiful conversation. And this what Mr. Covey wants to point to us. And for me, it's actually was not surprising, but very interesting. And I definitely put it in my note. So he's saying that as long as the response is logical, the father can effectively ask questions and give counsel. But the moment the response becomes emotional, he needs to go back to empathic listening. I found it's wonderful. I found it's wonderful. I'm guilty. I didn't do that. when I grew up my beautiful daughter. And one more. Can we continue?
Well, I can see some things that you might want to consider,
Like what, Dad?
like getting some special help with your reading. Maybe they have some kind of tutoring program over the tech school.
I've already checked into that. It takes 2 nights and all day Saturday. That would take so much time.
That's too much of a price to pay.
Besides that, I told the 6th graders I'd be their coach.
And you don't want to let them down.
But I'll tell you this, Dad. If I really thought that that tutoring course would help, I'd be down there every night. I get someone else to coach those kids.
So you really want to help, but you doubt if the course will make a difference.
Do you think it would help, Dad?
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Sans is one more open and logical, and he's opening to autobiography of his father again, but he's opening by himself, not when the father was pushing him with his autobiography, right? And what is also interesting that very often, and this I experience on myself, when the people have a real chance to open up, then they unravel their own problems and solutions themselves. I experienced that many times, so we just need to give people that opportunity. So, and you see what here is sense and emotion, and that reply, the father moves back to empathy. So this is, I actually needs to make it red and, in order to see the difference, but when we read you've seen it there. So what, let's continue. The key is to listen with empathy. It means to let the person get to the problem and the solution at his own pace and his own time. Layer by layer, like peeling an onion, until you get to soft inner core. And how often we are going right away to the point, right away to the root of the problem with our autobiographical responses, or even without, but still we don't give people pace, we don't give people time. And especially when people are really hurting and you really listen them, we really need to give them pace and time. And once again, Mr. Covey is saying that the children desperately want to open even more to their children than to their peers. But they need to be sure that parents love them unconditionally and they will be faithful to them afterward and not judge or ridicule them. So if you really seek to understand without hypocrisy, you will literally stand with the pure knowledge and understanding that will flow to you from another person. So this technique won't work without a sincere desire to understand. So for example, somebody will learn this, write it down, practice, but people will sense. If you will just use simple this technique alone without your heart, no, it won't work. Just don't spend your time. Understanding and perception. So Mr. Covey is saying that while you will learn now, before we were talking, I don't mean, let me exaggerate in order to give the point. Of course, I cannot say that all of us before were talking about themselves and now we become wonderful and we'll start to listen. So let me exaggerate. So before we were talking about ourselves, but on the way when we will start to listen with empathic attention to people, we will discover a lot of tremendously valuing people and plus tremendous difference in perception. Just look at these two people. I actually still don't know how they did that really. One is saying 3, the other is saying 4. But what Mr. Covey is saying that somebody can think from spouse center glasses. The other can look through money center lens of economic concern, right? Somebody has abundance mentality. Somebody has scarcity mentality. Somebody talk through right brain, the other talk through left brain. So we are so different. How can we work together? But we are living together with our spouses. We are working together. We are having friends, and we are all different. What do we need? We need to respect our differences. We don't need to look for oneness, that everyone would think like I think, that everyone would do what I do. It's interestingly that Mr. Covey is saying that habit number five is the first step in the process of win-win, right? Because actually think win-win is the habit number 4. And he mentioned, remember before, that we can start practice habit number 5 right away. And so no, he's the author, and he knows what he's doing. Personally, I like all of his habits, and the win-win was very interesting. We discussed it very deeply. And especially when a person is not with the win-win mentality. What if, for example, person with the win-lose mentality? What we need to be, what we need to do. For example, you want to have a win-win situation, and you are talking to the person who is with a win-lose mentality. What do you need to do? Yes, Patrick.
Well, I mean, let's say if I was walking, I mean, personal opinion, if I was walking into a situation with a win-win mindset and the other person is, you know, coming in with a win-lose mindset, right? I would want to understand in their situation, you know, what is the definition of winning for that person and what is the definition of winning, losing, right? And figure out why, you know, why they need someone to lose even if they win, right? So basically understand that, okay, is this person working from a constrained mindset, meaning, you know, a mindset of non-abundance, or is it the a personal experience that they have that, oh, you know, they have to win in order, or the other person has to lose in order to get that, to feel there is a certain emotional well-being. So I think, you know, if I was in that situation, I would want to understand, like, well, you know, what is it that they want to win, and then why, or what is it losing, you know, the other person losing look like to them, because it's perception, right? Because the thing is, what they think is losing, I might feel that, oh, that's not losing. You know what I mean? So that's, you know, like, for example, let's say we're doing a you know, a buy sell, right? Meaning, like, you know, you know, let's say they're saying, like, oh yeah, you know what, I'm not willing to pay more than $1,000 for something, right? But if I got it for $10, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, you know what, you can have it for 1,000, right? So from perception, he's like, oh, he's a sucker, you know, I got a good deal out of it, right? But that might not be the, you know what I mean? So I would want to understand that the psychology to his emotional. Anyway,
Absolutely.
that was a long-winded opinion.
That's
Sorry.
fine. That's fine, Patrick. Absolutely. How Mr. Covey said that we need to be stronger. We need to listen deeper. We need, how you said, understand more, because we are principle-centered people who already studied all 5 habits before. So we are stronger, we are wiser. And you know, if we are wiser, the more we have the more responsibility. It's not that, oh, I'm wiser than somebody else and we need to be proud of ourselves. No, we need to know that we have more responsibility and be more kind and understandable to the other people who doesn't know that, who we don't know where people are located. We have 3 levels of maturity, and through the conversation we see right away if a person blaming everybody around, where is that person? That person is on dependent level. He depends from everybody. If person is on the next level, independent level, he is responsible. And when a person is interdependent level, he's taking care of everyone around. So we just need to see it, and everyone is beautiful. Doesn't matter where that person is, independent level or in the interdependent level, we are all beautiful. It's just amount of work. For example, if you will talk with a person who is independent level, you will spend more energy, more time with that person to bring to win-win. If you will talk with a person on the highest level, interdependent level, it will be a brief. It will be easy because that person definitely will be oriented on win-win situation, but we are all beautiful. So this is nice, nice to remember. Congratulations, guys. We are going to the second part of habit 5, and this is equally crucial to reaching win-win. This is equally crucial. I really want to emphasize that. We don't need now to go to extreme and just to, in conversation, just to spend time to understand the other person. We need to bring our point as well. It's very, very important. Earlier, we defined the maturity, and it's balance between consideration and courage, right? And my question is, so this is the second part. You remember the first part, seek to understand. Where do you think is consideration and courage? So the first part, seek to understand, is it consideration or is it courage? And the second part, then to be understood. What is this? Is it consideration or it's courage? What do you think?
I don't understand the question. So are you asking, in terms of with the seek to understand, which part of this is
Yes,
to be
yes.
understood? Or
Yes, sorry, Patrick. So what I want to say that habit number 5 has 2 parts, right? First, we need to understand a person. What do you think? Is it consideration, or it's you need to be have courage to understand the person? And what is the second part? Yes.
again, based on what you're asking, well, I think courage would be the, having the courage to be humble enough to
Okay.
basically take the first step to understand. And then the consideration would be like, like you said before, you would kind of get a sense of the other person's emotional state, whether they're in the dependent or independent or interdependent. And then you could basically not so much a step down to their level, but use languages or words to guide them to a win-win if possible. I would, well, I'm going to use it. You influence them in a way that basically to get them to a win-win situation. Again, based upon your questioning, that's what I would do. But then again,
It's interesting, but I see the logic. I see the logic in your words. Anybody else wants to answer? Was I clear? Yes, Monique?
Honestly, I think it takes both consideration and courage because
Okay.
then seek to be understood. And I'm sorry, I forgot how the question was even first implemented with what you mentioned, but the courage to want to listen, because sometimes the conversation or the person, they can be very, if you're positive and they're very, negative, you want to, it takes courage to even listen to some people who you don't have the same, the same mindset with. So that takes a lot of courage. And because it takes courage, there's consideration to think about it. But again,
Do you think to listen somebody is take courage or consideration? What is more? While I agree with you as well, because we cannot, this is not for 100%, but mostly, mostly it's the answer here exists. When you want to listen somebody and he or she is a little bit difficult to listen, what do you need? To courage or consideration? I would think consideration. You need consider to listen to him, because courage, it's actually, what is courage? It's going from you have the braveness to say what you want. Let's see what Mr. Covey thinks. So the first part, seeking to understand, we need to have consideration. We need to consider and think and evaluate and understand and seeking to be understood. It's courage. What if you need to say something serious? What if you need to say something like no, or completely opposite? Of course, Monique and Patrick, I agree with you. Consideration also should be here. However, this is like more courage than consideration. So I basically found it's very interesting. The early Greeks had a magnificent philosophy, and I'm sure you've heard about it. Ethos, pathos, and logos, right? So let's see what is ethos. It's your personal credibility, the faith people have in your integrity and competency. It's the trust that you inspire. It's your emotional bank account. Pathos is the empathic side. It's the feeling. It means that you are in alignment with the emotional trust of another person's communication. And the logos is the logic, the reasoning part of your presentation. So, and actually we can see and think about ourselves where we are low. Of course, if you found yourself equally well on all stages, I can applaud to you. So, and also this is sequence is very important. And let's think, for example, what do you think, what can represent the ethos? What is that? If we will say more simple words, because ethos is not our word, like, right, it's Greeks. So what can represent the ethos in you?
well, I was thinking like experience,
Okay,
right? Or ethics.
okay. Ethics, yes, yes. So it's basically your character. And what you were saying, yeah, you include that, right? So, and again, see what the first is ethos. First is your character. And before Mr. Covey said that what is character is the foundation of communication, right? So he was talking in the same like early Greeks. What do you think represent pathos?
seek to understand.
Yes, yes. What seek to understand, it's already represent what? So it's already what she's right. It's already doesn't represent one person. She's talking about relationship. Absolutely correct, Violeta. Thank you. And the logos, what do you think is that?
Well, I mean, it'll be basically your, I guess, the way that the process or of your communication, maybe.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. It's your presentation. Great, great thoughts, guys. Thank you. So this is basically ethos, pathos, and logos, and most people, including me, making presentation go straight to the logos, the left brain logic of their ideas, and they try to convince other people of the validity of that logic without first taking ethos and pathos into consideration. It's a big, big mistake, which we are, which we have. Personally, how I mentioned, I have it. And this I found very, very important. Can somebody read it?
I can read it.
Yes, Monica.
So Violet's going to read.
The last, what this, can you read?
Or when you can present your own ideas clearly, specifically, visually, and most important, contextually, in the context of a deep understanding of other people's paradigms and concerns, you significantly increase the credibility of your ideas.
I found it's very, very, very important. Let's read again. When you, thank you, Monique. When you can present your own ideas clearly, specifically, and most important, contextually. How many times I've heard that? This is the way how I'm speaking. I try to talk more visually. I try to give ideas more interesting. I try to give some explanation. Guys, first, express to the point. First, express your ideas clearly and contextually, and after you can embellish it. But not start right away from embellishment and they bring people away and they're confused. And this is not only about other people. This is actually come back to you because it's increase significantly your credibility. This is like a boomerang is coming back to you. So if we cannot talk clearly, we just need to practice. That's it. And we will benefit tremendously. Eloquency is a power. We need to remember it. One-on-one. It's, I remind you, we are already in the second part of habit number 5. So then to be understood. And this is Mr. Covey's well-known circle of influence and the circle of concern. We studied it very, very deeply in our habit number 2. And you know, we were talking and discussing a lot about influence, right? And you remember Richard started this conversation and we all participated in it. And they see Mr. Covey not by mistake choose influence. Could he choose something else? He could choose, for example, this is the center, right? He could choose character. Center of our character, right? Center of our paradigm. center of our potential, right? Why he didn't choose that? What is your opinion? This is pure your opinion. Why he chose influence and not something else? What, for example, potential, character, paradigm. Yes, Patrick?
Well, I mean, it's basically from a action perspective, right? Because character or any other, the word influence, right, implies certain action, whereas that, where the action and the outcome are the same, right? Where a character or any other words, well, since you mentioned character is basically is the result of something, right? So the action could be many things, whereas influence and concern is basically the idea that influence is you are doing something, right, to create an outcome that you want, whereas the concern is, there is an external outcome that you have no control over. So
Exactly, Patrick. So it's about action, and it's about action to somebody else. So this is not only about us. We are in interdependent relationship, and we need to orient on people. And in my opinion as well, this is the best word, not based on your on center, not the center of your character. Circle of your influence. This is beautiful answer. Thank you. So, and also this is inside out approach. Now we can use our character, and through our character we still want to influence people. And of course, if we will follow all empathic listening, it will add to us power, and our circle of influence will grow. And Mr. Covey is saying, and watch what will happen. The more deeply you understand other people, the more you actually will appreciate them. And the more reverent you will feel about them. That's amazing. This is picture completely precious. To touch the soul of another human being is to walk on holy ground. It's really not to the topic of our conversation. I just couldn't avoid this picture, and what Mr. Covey said, it was on this picture. I just decided to leave it. Very precious. So also he's saying, don't push, be patient, be respectful. How much effort we need to have all of that? A lot. So it's not an easy task, especially if women are emotional. Men also can be emotional. It's difficult. It's much easier to spit or give, you remember we were talking about a pair of glasses, somebody, and just leave. And Mr. Covey continued that you don't need to wait. You don't need to wait. Yes, Patrick. Then I will continue.
yeah, I mean, I was gonna, piggyback when you said about you almost have to be very selective with the relationship you develop, right? Because
Yeah.
because obviously there's certain relationship that we kind of have to roll with, right? If you marry somebody, if you have a kid, your parents, whatever, those are the ones you got to roll with, right? It's like, okay, they're here, right? So you got to work with them. But outside of that, Monique's laughing. Outside of that, right? You got to almost have to be very selective, mainly because, like you said, it's so expensive, right? I mean, I don't know. It almost make me fear, like, oh my God, next time I talk to a prospective customer, it's like, is this guy worth it?
Absolutely. And we talk, thank you, Patrick. And we talk already actually a lot about it. Do you remember we discussed how we are getting married? I love you too. Oh, everything will be fine. It's only one question we are asking each other, right? But in fact, I was showing you, it was, I believe, 48 questions to ask before you get married. And there is 100 and 200 questions. And what's wrong with this? It's exactly correct, because we have expectation. And about those expectations, the other person even have no idea. But we are expecting, right? We are expecting, we don't say it to the person, we never vocalize our expectation to the other person, and we are expecting, but the other person doesn't have no idea what we are expecting, and this is create a lot of problems. So yes, thank you, Patrick, you were absolutely right. We now see, studying the habit number 5, how much effort and how much patience and the knowledge and time we need to put into the person. Yes, choose wisely. And thanks God, we have already a lot of knowledge and we practice a lot of skills. We now can see more. And plus, even if we will listen more empathically, we even will learn about person more than when we are talking. If we are talking, the other person is learning about us, and we learn nothing about the other person, right? So let me continue. You don't need to wait until your son or daughter has problems in school. Spend time with your children now, one-on-one. Listen to them, understand them, look at their school life, at their challenges, at the problems that they're facing through their eyes. Spend time with your spouse on a regular basis. Go to dinner, spend time together, go on nature, read a book, listen to each other, seek to understand. In a business, you can set up one-on-one time with your employees. Listen to them, understand them. Make the human element as important as the financial or technical element. You will save tremendous amount of time, energy, and money when you tap into the human resources of a business at every level. Seek first to understand before the problems come up. This is a great advice. I congratulate you. We finished habit number 5. And this is, I consider, fantastic application. They are workable. They actually even easier than application for habit number 4, win-win, right? But I ask you, continue to work, never stop. This is not that we studied something and we can forget. No, this is practice for the rest of our lives. And Mr. Covey said that he is still practicing, and he is still sometimes guilty of the habits which he wrote. So we need to be kind to ourselves, but it doesn't mean that we don't need to do anything and just pat ourselves on heads and they say, oh, I'm not that perfect, I'm okay. Yes, we are fine, but we need to practice. So can anybody please read? They are beautiful. Yes, Violeta.
Application suggestions. Number 1, select a relationship in which you sense the emotional bank account is in the red. Try to understand and write down the situation from other person's point of view. In your next interaction, listen to understanding, comparing what you're reading, what you're hearing with what you wrote down. How valid were your assumptions? Did you really understand that individual's perspective? Number 2, share the concept of empathy with someone close to you. Tell him or her you want to work on really listening to others and ask for feedback in a week. How did you do? How did it make that person feel? Number 3, the next time you have an opportunity to watch people communicate, cover your ears for a few minutes as just watch. What emotions are being communicated that may not come across in words alone? Number 4, next time you watch yourself inappropriately using one of the autobiographical responses, probing, evaluating, advising, or interpreting, try to turn the situation into a deposit by acknowledgement and apology. I'm sorry, I just realized I'm not really trying to understand. Could we start again? Number 5, base your next presentation on empathy. Describe the other point of view as well as or better than its proponents. Then seek to have your point understood from their frame of reference.
Beautiful. Thank you. Very, very beautiful and doable homework. What are your thoughts? What you will take with you? What are you taking with you from this meeting? Yes, Patrick.
So I have a question that I think a couple of sessions back, Brian brought this up. He was like, well, you're doing all this thing to deposit into your emotional bank account. What happened? The other person really don't care for it, or they keep draining it. Like, what do you do? Right. So,
Right.
and I'm just thinking, is there a way for the other person, because seek to understand and now be understood, is there a way, or is it appropriate to let the other person to let the other person know that, hey, this, in order to have a meaningful relationship, right, both of us need to basically deposit into emotional bank account. I mean, so I guess my question is, what is the appropriate way to not so much call the other person out, but to demonstrate that, hey, we, to have a meaningful relationship, you have to basically continuously make deposit,
Mhm.
right, and the emotional bank account. So what are your what's everybody's thinking about that?
Yes, good question. I will let you guys priority. Please think and try to answer. There is it's a deep question, and there is can be how many people are here. It will be so many answers, but let's see if we are thinking at least in the same direction. Yes, Brian. Hello and welcome.
Thanks. Well, the first thing I would say is, if you feel, hopefully, if this is a kind of relationship that is serious enough to you, you feel comfortable enough saying something to the effect that you feel what they're saying or doing or whatever is draining the account, as it were. If you feel comfortable enough with it, which hopefully you would, that you could say something to that effect.
Say what, Brian? Can you clarify?
Well, I guess it depends on the circumstances, but you might do something like, say something to the effect of, that I was upset, or I didn't appreciate when you said X or something like that, basically say, so that was not, that didn't, it was not, it was hurtful to me, or something like that.
Yeah, okay,
Ex-
okay.
Basically express, say what it was that was said and how you felt about it and stuff like that. I mean, basically explaining as much as you can. Or, I mean, alternatively, you could try to do like do sort of, the empathetic communication or something like that, I suppose.
Okay, okay, good. Thank you, Brian. Sebastian, please.
Yes, I can say from experience, and there's a lot of books, if you get to reading a lot of books that talk about similar things, but some of them will reach you more than others. But the message of success is usually very on point with one another. And one thing that I've learned is that your happiness is an inside job. It's a you problem. It's not a somebody else's problem. And at some point, that bank account is going to be on the red. They're going to be withdrawing more than they're going to be putting in. But as you change and as you show someone that you are putting more into their bank account than maybe they're putting in yours, they'll either tend to change, or at some point you got to make a decision. Because if you just want to keep on going at it and be like, oh my God, they're not changing, maybe if I change a little bit more, then they'll change, you're just going to go drive yourself crazy. And at some point, you just got to take the toxicity away in one way or another. Sometimes it's a little bit harder than others, but getting them to deposit into your bank account is not a you problem. That's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is doing what's right to others and making you happy. Does that make sense at all?
Yes, yes. Yes, thank you, Sebastian. Both, well, yes, Patrick, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I do actually. I love what you said, Sebastian. That's exactly, currently my strategy as well. However, he's my teenage son, right? So part of that is modeling, right? So yeah, I have no problem depositing, right? Because as a dude, to me, I feel that it's a privilege, a duty. It's a lot of time it sucks, right? But that's part of life, right? So like I say, you got to roll with it. So part of it for me is, I'm not. So I want to make something clear. I'm not saying like, hey, I've done all this for you. You should be doing. So that's not my point. My point is to really to flip the person, like you said, right? To basically flip the person to see like, oh, the other person is depositing, right, into the emotional bank account. Maybe I should do the same, right? So obviously, I'm asking this question not for me, right? It's to help him because he's going to develop relationship that he needs to see that, right? So, and he's obviously superficially reading the 7 habits. He doesn't understand it, and we have conversation about it. But the key there is like for him to actually do it or be conscious of doing it, and that's be aware. It basically is the awareness that I'm trying to get him to, right? Not so much of doing it, but just to be aware. You know what I mean? So, and that's where I'm trying different tactics, and sometimes he gets it. Most of the time he forget, but that's teenage boys. That's how it works. So, but I do like what you said. You're absolutely right. It's a fact that and thank you for the reminder. It's that the idea of the emotional bank account deposit, it's on me and totally on me, and I choose to do it regardless of whether the other person does something or not. Right? That's a great point. Thank you for that.
Beautifully. Anybody else wants to say?
I just wanted to say that the conversation between the father and the son, when you broke it down to the second pages, and he really was saying what was on his mind, because the dad took the time to, I guess, carefully listen. I thought to myself, I'm going to use Patrick's skill set when he uses his hands. I like that. I thought to myself, how many conversations had I missed out on where the little one in my life was trying to tell me something, but I was just, trying to hear, but not really listening. So like you said, you got goosebumps. I got goosebumps. It was a very emotional conversation when the son finally said that, I didn't do so well on the test. My reading skills are above, way below level. And then saying to the father that, yes, school is important, that Pop, I am listening to you. So fantastic. I'm in a better space now. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Anybody else? Guys, you said beautifully. It's very, very difficult to add anything, but I'm just will say what I think. While I agree with all of you, what you were saying, it depends from the relationship. For example, if actually not completely will be different, the character will stay and our deposits will continue. However, we need to see, for example, if it's our children, we cannot withdraw. We need to continue to deposit and hope and do our best and be centered on ourselves. It doesn't mean if something doesn't work with a child, we need to put center on him and do whatever he or she wants. Not at all. From that, we will even spoil his life and our life, because the child will expect from everybody around to do that, and it will never happen. World doesn't buy that it's our son or daughter, right? World will demand their rules, and we were talking that we need to prepare our children not for ourselves. We don't need to look as a pleasure. Oh, he's so cute. Oh, let me enjoy. No. From that, we are spoiling the life of our children. We need to prepare our children for the world and continue to put into emotional deposit. How spiritual teaching are saying, do your things, do your good things, and do not look for reward. This is spiritual teaching. This is every spiritual teaching you're saying that. So just simply do your best and do not look for reward. How much I put $10? How much my spouse put? Oh, $9? No, doesn't work. Do it. And for example, if it's our spouse, I was talking about children, that's absolutely, I'm with the opinion of Sebastian that everything has its limit. But of course, it shouldn't be based on 10 or 20 just deposits and withdrawals. No, of course, I'm talking about small. I don't talk about huge withdrawal, but it depends from the trust, and trust is the foundation. It depends if you have strong trust with each other, if you live alone, or if you trust each other, you have a good foundation, solid foundation. Of course, it can be some major withdrawals and you can survive. But guys, if you don't have any trust in each other, a little withdrawal will make a big problem. You can make each other even offense for word. And now you can see, do you need to continue that kind of relationship? You need to judge ourselves, and it's with everyone, with your friends and with the co-workers and with other people. Beautiful question, Patrick. Thank you. What you are taking with you, what you are going on with you, what you are taking from this meeting. Yes, Violeta.
I will take an onion with me.
Okay.
Engaging with people to let them open up layer by layer and not right away from the center.
Beautiful, beautiful. It's exactly what I actually do. I try to implement in my life as well. Yes, how I mentioned, Mr. Covey said that this is one of the most difficult habits for him personally when he was asked by reporters. And at first I was kind of really, I didn't expect, even I knew all his habits, but no, he's right. And I can tell you for me as well. I'm going right away into the logic. I'm a woman, but my logic is working. And I was skipping ethos and pathos, and I was going right away into the logos. It's our time is gone. If anybody wants to say a couple of words, it would be nice. Sebastian, what do you think?
I loved it. It was a lot of fun. It's definitely a different approach to a book club that I've been to before. It's more of a class, and I liked it because I do a lot of Audible. I don't do a lot of reading. While I'm driving, I do a lot of Audible. So it's not the ability of sitting down and writing stuff down is not let's just say it's not the safest to be writing as you're driving. But as Violeta was saying, I didn't take a lot of notes. I took some, but one of them was, peel the layer by layer. And the same thing with the empathy. Now, the one thing that you were talking about right now, Lena, it's funny because I buy emotional, but I sell logical. So it's sometimes you react one way, but you want others to react to you by doing something different than what moves you. Does that make sense? So I'm moved by logic, I'm moved by emotion, but I try to move others by logic.
Right,
So,
right.
So in other words, I'm a carrot person, but I teach with a stick. If you've ever heard the carrot and the stick analogy.
Of course, of course.
So this helped me understand again that you start with emotion, then you go to credibility, then you use the logic to help people put the logic to why they did what they just do, rather than get them to understand why they're going to do it. That just leads them to say, whatever it is you're trying to get them to do or to understand. If you start with logic, they're just going to immediately go like, okay, I got to think about it. Whatever point you're trying to prove, come across. And so those are the things that, and again, with everything in life, with every book you read, with every experience you have, it's always at what point in your life did it hit you, and what were you needing to hear at that point. So some people might say like, really, he got that from this? Yeah, because that's what I needed to hear. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
But I loved it. I found it terrific, and I look forward to showing up, even if it's late. Then I'll show up to start it from scratch after that, and that way I'll hopefully that will get me to help you out a little bit more with the people that are going through it completely from the first time. But yeah, I loved it. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. And you see that even you haven't been at 4 habits before, you got everything. So this is so depth of every habit that we can start from any habit. And you are completely knowledgeable and educated man. I don't think so that you didn't understand something. You just missed something which can be give you a lot of benefits, but you understood everything. So it's you are completely fine. Thank you and welcome, Sebastian. Our next meeting, it's exactly 5:30, 5:31. Our next meeting, we will do our homework, guys. I am the pusher. If you think that you will sit very comfortable in your armchair and just nicely smile to me and knock your head, no, guys, this doesn't work. And I don't plan to change a thing. So this is our 20th meeting, and next meeting will be your homework, and I will post on our message board that. And if you won't show up next time, I will continue and will wait you till the next time. So please do it. Without a practice, it's impossible. Just listen, understand. No, it's not enough. Sebastian, we did, and Monique, I think you joined also later. We did a beautiful homework on habit number 4, win-win situation, and we presented it. So I had a wonderful situation, and from a person who I drew away because she did what I didn't like. Now we're friends. We are friends, and Jan was presenting a wonderful situation. He got a job based on win-win situation, like with flashing lights. And he used the Mr. Covey approach, so we cannot just slick and sit and listen. Brian, if you would like, I want to answer to you on your question on the message board. Would you be interested?
Go ahead. Yeah, sure.
Yes, so, but because you just posted and I didn't have time to write, but guys, if you are not interested, this will be a different approach. I will start a meetup, and it would be by Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. To me, it's a fascinating book which changed lives of people. And it's while it's different approach, the base is the same. It's inside-out approach. And right now I can finish our meeting. And if you need to go, thank you so much. I tremendously enjoyed our meeting, and I see you all next Sunday at 4 p.m. I will stop recording. If you are interested, it wouldn't be long. I will try to discuss with Brian, and who is interested the power of now. So, and I will stop recording.